I would look way more forward than the small steps that we are raising money for, to ask for more money to achieve bigger stuff. You end up doing a round, then 2 years you achieve half of what you wanted to achieve. As the world is changing quickly, you have to adjust, to adapt. You already have no more cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, our dear friends of R136 Ventures, today we speak with two great founders, my friends Joël and Raffael. These are two co-founders of a company which we invested long ago to, and which we are very proud to be investors in. This is the first time I do this podcast with two founders, and we will dedicate a lot of time today talking about how founders work together, so you can listen to the story. So please welcome Joël and Raffael here in the studio, co-founders of NetGuardians.
Hello.
Hi, Joël. Hi, Raffael.
Hello, Victor.
Hello. So let me jump into the questions. As usually, we just go through some of the questions first. And obviously, I would like to hear from one of you, whoever can volunteer, a short history of NetGuardians, what this company is all about. And maybe to have some short intro from both you, Joël, and you, Raffael.
With pleasure. Maybe in a nutshell, what NetGuardians is doing, we do fraud prevention for banks and anti-money laundering detection for banks. So financial crime is our focus. We heavily rely on AI software models, model training to detect financial crime and fraudster attacking banks or within the banks. And we are two schoolmates who started from university already a long time ago. We are tech founders, so it means we were engineering driven, having fun with behavioral analytics, and took a bit of time, some pivot. And you know the story, Victor, as being an investor, that we pivoted several times to find our sweet spot, which finally ended into financial crime for banks, which is very much good fun.
Maybe quickly on my side. So I'm Raffael, the other co-founder. As said with Joël, we're classmates. We know each other for more than 20 years now. I think I even know him for longer than my wife.
Almost from kindergarten, knowing your age.
Yeah. Indeed. And today I'm piloting the strategy of NetGuardians and the group, and we've been in this adventure for a long time. Instead, as said, we pivoted several times to find our niche, and since we are just having fun doing fraud prevention and fighting fraudsters.
So I would add here that both of you are Swiss nationality, right? So you live and work out of Switzerland, and you incorporated company in Switzerland, right? So when was it? So what year was the year of founding NetGuardians?
Officially, the year of inception of NetGuardians was 2007, but at that we were still working for a university. We were a spin-off from a university, and we really launched it at our first fundraising in 2011, where we completely exited the university. So until 2011, we were still employee from the university, and we consider ourselves having really started in 11 when we fly on our own without any more link with the university.
So basically, you started as basically a research with our research postdocs, right? I mean, like master's degree. What was that in university back? Which university, by the way?
It was the University of Applied Science in Western Switzerland, and it was. At that time, it didn't exist bachelor and master, but it was kind of an after master. Joël continued as a researcher for a couple of years in the security domains. And then I joined him to do specifically some research on handling high volume of data. That was the beginning of our start, the log management, let's say, domain, where at that time there were no big data platform handling millions and billions of events. So that's how everything started.
Can I consider both of you droppers, that you just dropped off the universities to start your businesses, like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, or you actually graduated properly and then started the business? How did it happen? So it's like, are you from one of those categories of people who just dropped from the colleges?
We finalized our study. Raffael.
So you're back at the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Raffael went to the industry for 1 year or 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And on my side, I never had the chance yet to explore another company than NetGuardians. So it was directly after the university. I was a research assistant and then created NetGuardians. So that's still my first job, indeed.
That's funny. So you never had a boss?
We always have a boss in a way. You have the board, you have a lot of external party, but from that perspective, what we call a boss in the corporate.
Your boss is probably your customers, generally speaking, right?
Yeah. You always have external pressure, which is good. But no, I never had a boss per se in that sense.
Okay, that's funny. So that's interesting, and that's very unique, actually. Most of people whom I spoke with, they have some like corporate background. They worked in some other startups before. So this is a very unique example of two basically co-founders who met each other in the college long ago and started this journey together. So since both of you are tech engineers, right? I believe you had some difficulty to find out who does what, right? You both are qualified to do tech side, and you both probably had a little idea on how to manage business generally, right? And how to sell, how to market, how to work with the talent and stuff like this. So who has volunteered and how you have chosen the one who is going to be CEO and the one who is going to be CTO?
It's a good question. Actually, I think we did almost all the job, all the positions since the beginning, but then we found our area that we like the most. Both are really sales driven. Then at a certain time, I really liked, I managed the finance early at the beginning, and I led the different fundraising. So I moved more on that side, maybe also because I did an MBA afterwards. And after I quite...
Did you do MBA, by the way, Raf, during, while you were working, right, in NetGuardians?
Yeah, exactly.
Being a co-founder, you completed an MBA.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess at the beginning, I was maybe CEO for a couple of months, and then it was back to Joël. And then we split a bit geographically because we started to have clients in various places, and we had to focus. Joël was focused in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, where we had our first few customers. And then we had as well client in APAC. And then I was focusing on the APAC. So we were more kind of splitting the activities based by region. And quickly we get surrounded by also external professional who had, we hired quickly CFOs or sales guy or the different other profile that were needed.
So who was your first hire? So I assume that your first hire happened like after 2011, right? After you raised your first money. So who was that lucky person whom you hired first employee to NetGuardians?
I think that was some developers that we started with the first person on the payroll, and we took a bit of time, that we started having more sales function, finance function, and all that. We started as good techie guys, I think, having a number of developer developing a lot of things.
You developed yourself as well. So you are a CTO and CTO who also developed code, right? So you are.
Yeah. We were both at the beginning. I was developing the front end. I was developing the back end. That's how it started in the past. And basically, then we realized, having raised a bit of money, that we needed to sell and to find customers. And basically, we started then leading a bit the development side, hiring some people for that to be able to do, as Raffael highlighted, some business development. Raffael a lot in Asia Pacific. I was a bit more around Europe and Africa. And it just started like that, more by the way, by who was traveling to this first spot at that time. I went once to Africa just because of a conference. And then as I had the few contacts there, I started developing the region. And I think the same for Raffael in Asia. I went there once with a partner, started developing the market there because he had the first interaction there. By the way, he stayed there even 2 years or even 3 years in the region. His family there after many years. But it was very opportunistic. Like we went for an event and then we started developing the region. So very opportunistic driven, finding some needs that we can solve with our technology stack. That was a bit what drove us in our function and in the region where we developed the business. So very much driven by the market and the needs we were able to fulfill.
So let's stop here. You bought from Switzerland. You perfectly know the culture, and obviously you are fully incorporated there. You are building up a platform for payments. It means banks, right? There were not that many fintechs back then, right? In 2011, 2015. They only started to develop back then. So Switzerland is the country of banks, and banking system is well developed there, right? There are many banks, like Cantonese banks, regional banks, large banks, wholesale banks, whatever it is. So how come that you had to go to Africa and to Asia, not developing in the homeland? Why didn't you start pushing it towards banks in Switzerland? What was the obstacle? What was the barrier? Why Swiss banks didn't enjoy buying NetGuardians platform for payments anti-fraud system? Or there is maybe no fraud in Switzerland, and that's the reason.
Yeah, and actually that's an excellent question, because we indeed started really quickly to go abroad, because our first product was around internal fraud, and indeed it was not really a topic in Switzerland. They were always saying, "Oh, we don't have issues, we don't have this problem." Probably they were too much margin. The economy was so well that they didn't care about the small amount that they were losing every year.
Explain what is internal fraud. So it's more like fraud which is committed by employees, right?
Exactly. When there are collusion between employees and they're trying to defraud either the customer or the bank itself.
So Swiss banks didn't consider that to be an issue, right?
Exact. And hence we started abroad with such a solution, and then we came out later on with a payment fraud solution, maybe in 17 or 18, and we really became extremely famous, I would say, in Switzerland since 20. And today we can proudly say that we are the market leader in Switzerland. But 10 years ago, it was not that common, or they were fraud for sure, but it was not at the level as we see today and the surge that we've seen the couple of last years.
In emerging market also, as we started on internal fraud, what we realized that there were a lot of small robbers in emerging markets bringing big losses at the end of the year, because we see a bit the behavior in different markets when we speak about internal fraud. Now, again, employees stealing money into the banks. And by the way, there is internal fraud in any business. You have human, you have fraud. So it means in any corporate, people are stealing some money. That's just human. That happens. And it's just that in some markets, people will commit some fraud with big amounts because they know that if they are detected, they are screwed. They have issue with law enforcement. It's very hard to find another job if it's not law enforcement. It's very tough. In some markets, they know that they won't have big issues, and they go for smaller amount, and they try to be to be on under the radar. So it very much depends a bit the market, and we realize that in emerging markets, it was just great for fraudster to try many times small amounts.
Eventually, I fully agree with you. As a technology specialist who worked in banks for decades, I can confirm that most of the fraud cases I saw always had an external and internal components to it. So most of the fraud which you originally think to be an external fraud was driven by some internal insiders who actually intentionally or unintentionally committed the fraud, right? So they either told something about particular way to actually crack the system, or they actually participated in this particular way of cracking the system. So we always were trying to find, if even it looked like an external fraud, we always were trying to find, and usually succeeded, someone who was like helping, again, intentionally or unintentionally, fraudsters from within.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that this is a more complex thing, right? So you need always to like think about fraud to be committed on both sides.
Yeah. Exactly.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. But tell me, I mean, I just wanted to like complete the story of about the product itself. So you started as an internal fraud management platform and fraud prevention platform, and obviously you relied a lot on big data. Although back then we haven't used much of AI terminology. Were there some like models, training models, or anything related to AI? Maybe not to generative AI, but to machine learning. Did you use this methods and technology from the very start, or it's like evolved to use it?
It evolved, I would say, since 2015, 10 years ago. That's when we did this switch. We also, by the way, hire our CTO, Jerome, at that time, who really made this move our platform that was very much, at that time, very much more rule-based toward behavioral analytics. But to detect this type of collusion you highlighted, internal, external, what people were doing as strange things within the bank. So very much rule-based. And since 2015, then we really started our transition toward AI, machine learning, model training, to then model behavior instead of having plenty of rule sets to do it. And that's also what enabled then our switch, I would say our extension to payment fraud, external fraud, scam detection, fake invoice detection, and all that by running payment behavioral analysis with AI models.
Who has elaborated the name NetGuardians? Whose idea was it? Did you get some consulting firm working for this name, or you just picked this name out of what? Where did you like? How did you consider this name? Was there any dispute or any other names on the table which you didn't pick?
I don't remember.
I remember in a whiteboard at the university, but then I don't remember. It's so long ago now. I remember the room and the whiteboard, and we were trying to find some name, and it's a big issue, big headache every time for finding trade names that you do not infringe and that you are. It's so complex, and we discovered that.
I remember just the logo that we work with a freelancer for the first logo.
The first logo was a guy in Canada who did it. But then, it was on the whiteboard and trying to find something that can highlight the business. But at that time, we were more, as Raffael said, on information security than.
Do you still like the name?
We still like it. It's hard to pronounce in different language. For a simpler one now, if an easier one to pronounce.
Yeah. Actually, we called the company internally NG. Yeah, we called it not NetGuardians, but NG as a term. But anyway, it's a great name. Actually, I like it. Let's speak about money. Neither of you have ever raised money before. So when you decided to raise, what was your course of action? How did you do your first fundraising back in 2011?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's true, we never raised any money prior to NetGuardians. With the chance in Switzerland to follow some, let's say, startup courses or more venture classes. There were some program in 11 that started. We followed those program. We were coached into that, and then we started to do a little bit some roadshow to raise some fund. And our first raise, we raised actually 1 million. And I still remember.
For 2011, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was. It was quite a lot, actually. It was, and we call that a round A. There were no seed, pre-seed, or whatever notion that exists today. And remember, at that time, we had the chance to either raise 1 or 2, and we refused to raise 2 and only raised 1.
Why you decided to raise only 1? You didn't want to dilute yourself, or what was the reason? Or you didn't know where to spend money?
I think it was a bit of both. We thought that with 1 million it was way sufficient, and we'll have plenty enough money to execute our plan. And of course, 12 months later, we're like, maybe we should have taken the second one. But at the beginning, yeah, we didn't know what to expect much. We thought it would have been way sufficient.
And I remember we did even some picture on the e-banking because we never had a so big amount on the bank account. That was good fun.
I'm just listening to, re-listening this Elon Musk biography by Isaacson. And that was like a funny description of how he made his first $25 million after he sold his Zip2 company. So he got this because he was actually dismissed from CEO position, and then there was another CEO hired, and then I think it was Davidoff Ventures who decided to sell the company. So company was sold, and Musk got this $25 million. So before that, he had just $5,000 on his account, and that was money, everything he had. And after he had $25 million and $5,000, that was kind of a thing. So we had zero, and then after you raised money, you had 1 million, which is like a lot more than just zero. So like million times more or whatever. That's interesting. Well, so coming back, who was your first investor without naming it? Is it like venture fund or private individual? Who trusted you and why? Why you think person or company has trusted you? 2 founders who had no experience, who are actually university research students who started the company. And then someone has trusted you $1 million.
So before the first fund, we had some university grant, some specific research grant that we won. So we won a couple of awards. And the first fund was a fund built out from a university. So it was all kind of linked in the academia. Actually, one of the person in the fund was had a successful career in banking, and he saw the potential, and he trusted us. He stayed with us for a long time, remaining invested in the company.
He knew you before, right? He knew you well enough to trust you.
He didn't knew us before. We met him via the fund, and
Still in our
they're still in our boards today.
yeah.
Okay. Did someone tell something to him? Was it a warm contact, or I mean, somebody called saying, "Oh, there's a really great guys, Joël and Raffael. Listen to them. I mean, these are amazing founders." You know how important it is when somebody is calling like Sequoia saying, "Oh, these guys are really awesome."
No,
I didn't say I
we know
did.
that
It was like a cold call for you, right?
we had no network. It was just university guys. We had
Good at pitching, probably.
no trust.
No, yeah.
So it was.
Were you really good in pitching, you think? I mean, how do you assess your ability to pitch now, back then? Would you put money to yourself back in 2011? Now, if you listen to the speech, would you just give money to yourself in 2011, or you would do things differently?
Probably not to the pitch that we did or the numbers that we showed. But one key rule is always investing probably in the team versus just the business. So when we see the slide that we've presented a long time ago, probably they were not as well polished, nice looking, and so on. But I guess it's that, as you said, we are two co-founders. Probably the energy, the team, what we were bringing was probably that the thing that made the difference. Because it's true, we had no network, nobody who have been able to back us up from our previous, let's say, from our past experience. But we always had these trends pushing and moving forward, and I guess that was one of the elements who made that. But probably we should ask him.
And maybe also I would say the passion, because we were just passionate and never. And I think to me that's really having a passion and never giving up. And we went maybe also through several steps to get some grants and stuff like that. And we were hungry to move forward, to make it happen, and giving up. And maybe my learning also around that. And if I would have to invest in a team, everything is possible today. It's really about connecting with the right people, building the right team, having the right network, the right product, and stuff like that. But anyone can make it. You just need to never give up, be passionate about what you do. And I think that's also a bit in our DNA. We were just maybe at that time we call naive, but really thinking we will make it. And
naive but inspiring.
Yeah, and willing to make it happen. And yeah, exactly.
How much money approximately have you raised through entire life cycle of NetGuardians, more or less?
I would say from the raising part, around 40 to 50 million, give or take.
40 to 50 million. If somebody told you back in 2011 that you would need $50 million to deliver what you finally delivered, would you believe in that? Would you say, "Oh yeah, I mean, we think it will take like 50 million"? What was your kind of like best estimates, the most kind of ambitious estimates? How much you think you would have raised back then?
I would say,
like, seriously, yeah. Was it like 1 to 10, 10 to 50 to 20, 20 to 50? If you were asked them back then, according to your business plan in 2011, how much money did you need to get it to the level of maturity you finally achieved?
I would say with what we know today and how we will do things differently, I would say we need half of it.
It means that you spent, something you spent wisely, something you spent by pride, like learning, trial and learning, right? But my question is different. Back then in 2011, what do you think you should have raised? So, totally to make this a success. And ultimately, NetGuardians is a success, right? So
I was thinking that time, look at the business plan. After 2 years, we were doing million, doing exit, everything. But to me, it was like with 5 million would have been like the maximum. Yeah, it was like, okay, one is already huge when you raise it. Oh, and then, maybe 5 million. That's more than enough. And we were, just learning.
I think that that what usually I see in that the multiplier I use when I ask a founder in like seed or A round how much money he thinks he would need to say to get to a success, whatever success he thinks is the right definition for his company. Usually, he is mistaken by 10x. Usually, if he says I need the 50 million, he needs 500 million. If he says he needs like 20 million, he needs 200 million or more. But that's an interesting ratio, Raf. You mentioned how much you think you would have spent on achieving the same result if you were experienced already by knowing what you should not spend money upon and what you should. And you said 50%, which is a good ratio, by the way. I think that the ratio is more towards like the waste in startups. Even in best startups, I know the ratio is much higher than 50%, I think. And this is not just because people are doing something completely wrong. This is just because life is complex, because you are doing something what is definitely like a frontier, right? And when you pushing the frontier, you don't know where it ends, right? And obviously you don't know where to go. So this frontier is itself a mystery. Yeah. So I totally understand that there is some money spent which you would consider to be spent wrongly after all, right? But it's inevitable. That's what you have to accept. If talking about fundraising and investors, what are the main lessons learned? What would you do differently fundraising for your next company? Is there something what you may tell other entrepreneurs who will listen to us? What needs to change? Yeah. What would you do differently?
I have one idea that come directly out of my mind. I'm sure, Raffael, you can add on top because there are many things. But it would be to look way more forward than the small steps that we are raising money for, to ask for more money to achieve bigger stuff. Because you end up doing a round, then 2 years you achieve half of what you wanted to achieve. As you said, the world is changing quickly. You have to adjust, to adapt. You already have no more cash. You need to restart another round to move to the next stage. I would really sell more the vision where we want to go, saying, okay, that's where we want to be. We're going to have 3 steps. We need that money to go there, and not just to talk about the first step. And I think, and also a bit as Swiss guys, very much, careful about everything, being, you need to be just here and that, and, not looking at what you can achieve as an end goal. We were really a bit in that paradigm where you move the small steps and we're going to see the next steps. Let's not ask for too much. And I think that really restrains yourself, because you end up to do another round sooner than later, and then enter that round that you invest a lot of time to make it happen, and you defocus from the business. And I would say trying to find an investor who's a partner, meaning that you really follow up, you have some top up together. It means you grow together, and you can focus on the business, which is going to take longer than expected anyway.
And on my side, I would say what I would do more carefully or assess more is what really the investor can bring operationally, what type of blueprint. We always hear from all investors, they are there to help and to do everything. But when really it comes on the table and was, okay, can you introduce us to this client or this prospect? Then it's way weaker than that what it had been sold at the beginning. So I would pay some attention on how an investor can help us either operationally or network-wise to either open doors or bring specific blueprints to open region or things like that could have speed up the business.
So usually what you say is investors, they, not usually maybe, but many times when they date, they promise more than they can deliver when they marry, right? When they sit on the boat. So that's unfortunately true for many cases.
There are exceptions, but yeah, at least that's what we went through. Of course, there are exceptions.
What should you not expect from investors? Is there anything what you should give an advice to other founders? Don't expect from investors this. What this would be?
I would say to on my side to bring customer. I would say not ready to sign. It's never ready to sign. There is always a lot of work. But at some point, I was thinking that with some network, we could really accelerate some go-to-market on things like that. But at the end, you get my learning is like you get introduction support and stuff like that. But bringing some mature deals to the companies that I saw with some company. I saw it happens, and I thought we could do the same, but it's more an exception rather from what we experienced. It's more an exception rather than a standard way. But at the time, I was thinking that with some specific investors, we could have some very an easier life for some deals, which we never experienced, at least on our side. That I saw some other friends having startups having a bit of this opportunity, but at the end it was maybe one or two and very hard to replicate.
I fully agree. Raffael, anything to add here?
Well, I think it's indeed, I joined Joël on that one.
I definitely can't agree more. I think many founders expect whatever advisors they hire, whatever board members they have, to actually sell, right? And door opening and interest do not sell.
Yeah.
At maximum, they open door for the first visit, at maximum, especially if you're in B2B business, especially if you are in regulated business like yours, when you sell to regulated entities like banks or fintechs. And I always say to founders, you should build the sales machine, right? So an example of Oracle or Cisco or other great companies, Salesforce, is not an example of a great innovation in product or technology. There were many who probably were better than all those names I mentioned and other names. But what these companies really did well, they made a perfect sales machine. They built sales machine which was able to sell on its own, right? Like an engine. So it's just selling and selling and selling. And it doesn't really matter whether the product is good enough or really brilliant, right? It's a matter of the sales machine which you're building. And I think that's exactly where nobody can help except for management team and founders who can just build it up themselves, right? So I have one more question. You remind me many other co-founders who were young, very enthusiastic, very ambitious, still were replaced or moved apart from CEO position. So somebody senior is coming, the board is insisting to have a guy whose name sometimes is Eric Schmidt, sometimes other names, right? Dismissing founders from their positions, asking them to step away, relax, and the seasoned managers take role of navigators and executives in the business. So was there any ever discussion at NetGuardians? Look, Raf, Joel, you are great, awesome young man, but let somebody else, Mr. X, would start and do some of your business better than what you do. Was there any discussion like that? And if so, have you ever pushed back? Oh, you did, because otherwise someone else would appear at this interview, right? But now I'm speaking to co-founders who were also executives. So was there any like a discussion with the board that let's do it?
I would say at the early days of the company, it's almost impossible or very hard because we are more product manager than CEOs or something else. We are positioning the product, and at least for tech funders that do not come with a business idea, we're going to solve that problem, etc. We come with a technology and try to find the sweet spot on the market. We are more product manager, having a bit of technology skills, sales skills, and things like that. So I would say during these steps, it's very hard to move founder out, I would say, because it's like this pivot role that can make it happen or not from the success of the company. I would say the later you go, the more you are replaceable for that, which I think it's good to be replaceable. It's sustainable. It means that you are growing. It means that your company is growing, and for sure, even not through some board discussion, but I would say also many times, at least personally on my side, I was thinking, should I continue the journey or not? Is it for me, or should I just do something different in the company? There are plenty of, Raffael and myself, we did plenty of role. There are plenty of other area we could have fun. And I would say every 3 years almost, or 2 years, I even have this conversation with my wife saying, okay, maybe the next step is not for me. What do you think? And now she's telling me every time, yeah, you always say that and you always continue. And my belief is that with external support, coaching support, that we used a lot at NetGuardians, because personally, I don't believe you can just learn everything on your own. You have to get good advisor, or even more than advisor, coach, guys that can support you.
And you've had these coaches, right? You both enjoyed having such coaches, right? Was it the board members, or was it like some external people, like advisors who actually provided you this mentoring?
At the early days of the company was always board member, our chairman, where I always say that they were our business father. We've got 2 chairmen in the past. At the early days, he was our business father. He was telling us how to do cold call and stuff like that. And then we had another chairman who was still in the board of the company, who also supported us a lot on more organizing the team. And then we started also adding an external coach. So not having just someone from the board, but really an external view that helped us a lot over the last, I would say, 8 years, even something like that. That we use a lot to structure the management team, to give us a bit this advice, this stuff that we never did, to have a benchmark, a soundboard. And I think with that, you can really grow, and you can really learn, and to really avoid too many mistakes. Just do the hard one that you're going to learn very hard, and then to avoid all the other one because you never did it before. And I think this really helped to grow personally. And then this question, or should I continue or not, is getting obvious. And I think also then from the board perspective, it's visible that you are fun, you want to continue, you have abilities to learn. Sure, it's a bit of a risk because you never did it, but it can work.
So your board had a lot of trust in you. That is really great. So let's switch to another topic now. I promised to open this conversation about how you guys work together, right? I mean, what is your management style? How you like solve problems? So obviously you had a lot of disagreements on the way, right? From 2007, you should had a lot of battles between yourself and someone liked more something and some other liked something else, right? And you obviously had to debate on the product side, you had to debate on the sales side. So over time, I'm sure this discussion has polished, but how did you overcome all these conflicts which are inevitable for founders? What was the secret sauce of you working together? So what should you expect? What should you not do with founders? How you manage to build up a really great relationship? And I know that you have great relationship. And I know a lot of founders who broke apart and who have no great relationship anymore. So what was the secret?
I guess as we started, we knew each other already for some times before starting the venture together. So, when we were at university, we were classmates doing our labs together. We were friends. And then we started the business together. I think one key element was trust. We always trusted each other, and that was a key element, especially to go through different storm period and so on. I don't think we have been always in alignment on everything, but we always had the capacity to speak out ourselves, to tell what we think, and then find a common agreement. And that's probably also our Swissness. I mean, we are both Swiss. Finding an agreement is something part of, I would say, our DNA. It's how our parliament works, and it's always you have the right to disagree, but at the end we have to take a decision that works for everybody.
Remember one case, please. You, Joël, you, Raf. Remember one case which you had a major disagreement, like your biggest battle in your co-founding history.
For me, I think previously, some years ago, I wanted to go in a product direction in the transaction monitoring space. And I lost the battle at the beginning. But as said by Joël, we're never giving up. So I keep focusing on that topic, and we launched a product, I think 2 years ago now on the transaction monitoring side. But at the time, we were not in agreement with other priorities. And
so Joël thought that you should not enter this space, transaction monitoring, and you thought you should, right? Exactly. And at the end of the day, Joël's opinion prevailed, right? So how did you agree? I mean, did you say okay, and you were offended and felt disregarded, not heard? You went for a meditation session, and then you calmed down and agreed with Joël, or how did you decide that Joël is right?
So as at the time, they were. I believe that could have been a right move, but there were as many good reasons to go on the other direction, the one that we took, and where we see where we are today, where probably it was the good choice anyway, because we've been quite far. We sold the company, and at the time, the thing is that as we always discuss about things. We didn't get to a point where, you become angry, you keep it inside, and they say, and then.
You were not 100% sure that you are right. Yes. So you thought that it might be a right decision to go transaction monitoring, but maybe not. So you basically were not convinced 100%. Otherwise, you would have convinced Joël to go.
But I think he was right, but was timing wise, and it's very often between the two of us. I often say that Raffael is having the vision where we need to go, and then I'm the leg. I'm making things operationally on track and things like that. And I think there were no mismatch on the fact that it's an area where to go, but it's very often the question is the when. And as Raffael said, at the end, doing too many things at the same time, I'm always the guy saying, no, let's do A, and then let's first do this from A to Z, and then we add. Sometimes too much, because it means that we may lose opportunity. We always have those conversations where it's not often a matter of should we do it? Yes, we have to do it, but it's when. And that's where we often did agree is on the when. It is like, okay, I'm more like, no. First we do this, and that. Look, all those problems we need to solve first. And that's often on those areas. So there are more conversation. When do we start things rather than, because I think and that's why Raffael is managing the strategy, because you always see the spot where we go, but like I'm always saying 2 years too early from my perspective, which is good from a strategist and or
Raf is more risk taker, and you, Joel, is more risk averse, a little bit like this, yeah? Maybe, I don't know.
Could be on the execution side, yes. That life, I would say we are a bit the same, but on execution for sure, I will be more risk adverse. Yeah.
I know a lot of partners, both venture partners or co-founders of startups in the Valley, who regularly go to see a psychologist to see someone who professionally can judge upon the conflict and help to like mitigate conflicts. Have you ever used one? Did you ever go to a professional to spot your problems together or separately?
I would say my psychologist is Joël. The number of hours
Okay.
more him my psychologist than anybody else.
Not yet, yeah, but the coach we use, Jean-Max, was really a guy who was working with all the management team, and to me, playing that role, not telling us everything what people was telling him, but looking at how to click things together, and for me was real benefits for us and the company, because really helping us, to glue things together, to understand pro and cons. We did also some well-being assessment, or you can find any of those tests, but we did that with the ELT to understand how people think, how to work together, and those type of things that at the end, it's maybe what a psychologist is doing. I don't know exactly what they do, but I believe it's a lot around that, how to work together, how to understand the other, how to bring the argument in the right way, how to communicate together, which was really helpful. Without this guy would have been very tough.
I mean, there is always good solution to find a person like that.
Yeah.
To to act as a balancer. But I would still ask my last question on that topic. What are the areas of improvement to Raffael, Joël? What would you want Raffael to work upon, to like improve upon? Is there something, one or two characters, what he needs to be better at?
Good question.
I hope I'm not opening a Pandora box now.
No, we know pretty well each other's. Good question. I would say on Raffael, he's very human, even more than myself for many area. But sometimes when he say things, he looks less human than a bit more strict. Kind is more human than me, and and this maybe could deserve when you talk very direct and things like that, could deserve a little bit. So that would be the improvement area that I would maybe see. thinking about one.
Yeah, I think it's quite accurate. I have a culture map that is closer to the Netherlands than Swiss, so I quite direct. But again, as we always say, it's always on the continuous improvement. How to always get better and without it's data point driven, fact based and not too much about emotions. Yeah.
Okay, what then Joel has to improve upon?
Yeah.
Or his rough ideal, which could well be. I don't know.
Good.
I always saying to my wife and to my family that the only reason why we built with my wife and all our like kids, 6 kids, a great partnership is that she's always right. And that's the only reason why we have such a great partnership over last 24 years.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. No, I think that I said even if we sometimes are not in agreement in many things, we've went so far. So I think they were the right move anyway, because we have no big regrets. Yeah, maybe the fun part being more I am more the party guy usually. So having the celebration of the success, pushing a little bit that more because it's also a big part that push people forward. The celebration.
Indeed, I agree. By the way, I see a lot of people who celebrate, not enough celebrate the success, right? And yeah, I believe that I'm one of the guys. So if I'm to improve in something, this is celebration of the success. Because for me, like achievable, if it is achieved, it is achievable, right? If it is achievable, it is not somewhat is really interesting anymore, right? So it's achievable, it's achieved, check the box, go next, right? And I do not celebrate the success enough, and I totally agree with you that this is a big area of improvement, at least for myself. Usually I blame myself for something what has not been done and do not appreciate how much was done. So that's for sure something to improve upon. Okay, guys, so let's skip a couple of areas I wanted to speak about, but still I just want to get back to business, a little bit of challenges. Obviously, any company, including NetGuardians, has gone through its death valley, right? So maybe not going much into details, but when the company was in a largest possible stress, what was your strategy, tactics, whatever? So how did you perceive this stress yourself, and how did you set the company to resist the stress and to still be successful? So what are the lessons learned, and what are the like takeaways? What would you recommend? What to do? Like it's a huge storm, right? Or you're in the middle of a desert, so it's a death valley you're going through. So what to do? What is just giving advice to founders who will listen to us?
I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, what you think of, but one of key aspects, we always have been quite transparent with the team. As to move forward, I mean, it's not just the founder, it was the entire company. And each time they've been a big storm or big issue, the COVID and so on, an element that we didn't know, because there are plenty part of our journey where we didn't have any answers. But we try to put everything transparently to the team. We do some every quarter town halls where we go through where we stand and share it with the people, and they just followed us and help us to pass all the different storms.
And
so you were transparent, and you were telling like you were not over optimistic. You didn't tell people, "Oh, don't worry, we will solve it." No, you were like facing the issue, saying, "Okay, company is in the death valley," right? So everything may happen, right? So it's something like this. Yeah.
We're telling them,
Doesn't it scare people because you are brave, you are matured, you are founders, you know what you're fighting for, right? Isn't it like too scared to say to the team, oh yeah, we are just we are kind of like dying, right? So we may die altogether, right, as a company.
So
I mean, some people would say, oh, I am gonna like go and find another job, right? This company doesn't have any more money to pay me. I just, from the same biography of Musk, when he hired a person to SpaceX, who could have potentially be his co-founder, named as a co-founder, and at the end of the day, he didn't get this role of co-founder. And Musk said, because, there was a dispute why he's not a co-founder. And Musk said, you wanted to pledge your salary, 2 years' salary onto an escrow account. You wanted to have a security. And with this security, you are not deserving the role of co-founder, right? You are just an employee. You are the first employee, you're a CEO or whatever, but you are not the co-founder. We could not name you a co-founder because of that reason. So usually founders and employees are in still different seats, right? Different mindsets. Employees want security. Employees want insurance, right? They want to know of the future. Founders may and are usually much more risk takers. So isn't it like a big issue to say truth to your team that yes, our ship is almost at the end of the journey and we probably are not going to make it?
I guess there is being transparent and telling everything. So there are aspects of, we were transparent of the situation, but we always came with plan, what we were going to do, what was the rationale. And of course, some element that would create uncertainty, like if we had some cash flow issues or things like that, we would not necessarily put that straight bluntly on the table. We were more saying, okay, we are going or we are experiencing difficulties in those areas. That are the plans that we have set up to go through them. And we were always clear in the plan that we were taken in the different situation. But it's right. People need security, but as well they need to know what's happening and believe in the people with whom they work.
Who is a bigger optimist? You, Raf, or you, Joël? Who is more optimistic about future?
Depend the period of the year. Sometimes that's what always was worth.
So you balance each other out. So when in spring, when Joël is more optimistic, Raf is more pessimistic, and in fall it's just opposite. So an average level of optimism remains, which is good.
And I always have to think about it, because I think we are both very optimistic, but also realistic. But the joke I always had was when Raffael was looking at the e-banking statement, then he was always pessimistic. So I knew when you were looking at the e-banking account, when you were looking at the facts and say, no, we need to be careful and things like that. That was every time you were very close to the numbers. So it's also a bit depend, and it's good to be close to the numbers. Basically, but it's also being able to play a bit with that to still be optimistic, realistic. And I think, as Raffael highlighted, also what helped us a lot to go out of troubles was to have a plan, to be able to explain it to the team, and then to have some B plan. We always had a B plan, trigger defined, saying, okay, if this does not happen, we move there.
Okay, that's very Swiss way of doing things. That's great. It's not like very American.
Yeah.
Usually there is no plan B for American founders.
But this was really having plan, B plan, and the board onboarded. support board, and full transparency on A plan and B plan. That's how we operate when there are troubles. And it worked pretty well so far.
Okay, good for all of us. By the way, my fund is an investor, was an investor, is not NetGuardians, and it really ended well for everyone. Have you ever considered moving headquarters and moving company and moving yourself to the US, to like a bigger market? Was there any consideration to do that, or you never even thought of that?
No, I mean, entering the US market, we did thought about it, but as we entered quite quickly in Middle East and Africa and APAC, then it was too much going in all markets all together at the same time. So it was more a question entering the US market later on when all other market will be stable enough. But we never thought so far to relocate the headquarters in the US.
Okay, because I'm just talking to many founders in Europe, and the best advice I usually can give them is just if you think your product is great, start doing it in the US, because US market is much bigger, less fragmented than European markets, easier to raise. And if you think you do something great, that's better to do it in the bigger market. But anyway, I think, again, I mean, all well what ends well. So it ended well for you and for investors. So good. So let us shift briefly to M&A. So you ended up selling and joining a large PE firm out of Nordics. So how this decision came, why you decided not to continue, why you decided to join a bigger firm. And I know that you merged with other company, which you actually took over. Now, much bigger company, much bigger business. And I know that you're still in charge. Yet, how did you decide, why you decided to go that route, not to keep fighting, not to keep growing the company, but becoming a part of a big organization?
Yeah, I think to me, private equity, and at least how we experience it with our new owner on that perspective, it's very much a continuation of what we are doing without having to go seek money for new project, new initiative every time from the outside. So to be very close to the partner there, having directly with the investment committee, being at the end to orchestrate some new initiative in another way. And I think that's really one of the key elements. So at least for me, it looked like much more a continuation of the business. And at that time, we had this opportunity, some more potential exit strategy, meaning exit by the way of more strategic. So buying us, and what does it mean? It means being integrated in another product and things like that. And I think when we were at that decision point, what was very also much exciting was to continue the story, because we started this as a fundraising process. Was not the idea to exit in any way. It was much more a fundraising. And I think a private equity investing in more, I would say, early stage company rather than companies doing 2 billion revenue and things like that. So, and there are more and more of those private equity companies. I think it's really a way to continue to have more muscles, to have M&A also opportunities, opening the door to acquire a company, to grow in organic, and I would say a very interesting gameplay for the company and for us moving forward. So that's a little bit more.
So it's a little bit more secured way, right? Than to just go independently.
I would not say,
or like a bigger leverage, right? So you can achieve a bigger leverage by going with some bigger partner.
bigger leverage, but as well focusing on business, because all the time,
not fundraising. So you are tired of fundraising a little bit, just a little bit.
It doesn't really kind of make the business move forward. And that now we can really focus on the business. And I guess that's a big difference.
And yeah, a bit tired of it's true, because Raffael did a lot of them alone. I really was all on his shoulders, some fundraising. I was more supporting, bringing sometimes some contacts, but then the guy running the show was Raffael, and it's a lot of effort every time. And it's true, you defocus, and you did 1, 2, 3, then okay, you know how it is. And we better bring some new logos, some deals, some stuff like that.
I open you a secret. What you should change next time, when you start your next business, you should fall in love with fundraising. You should enjoy it, really. If you start enjoying it, it will get really much easier. You just need to love what you do. I mean, I see in your eyes, fundraising, that's how I see fundraising for the fund, until I truly liked it. It didn't work really well. Now I just enjoy the process.
Then maybe we should that on the next time to fall in love with the fundraising process.
But with customer buying stuff from
I prefer to sign a logos and client revenue than investor revenue, to be honest.
So my last question for today, and we will wrap up. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm always telling people who ask me why you are doing it, what you're doing it for. And I didn't really have a good answer until I started doing it. I said, well, I just want to do this podcast, right? And some people said, well, Victor, you're not going to just be like Lex Friedman of this world, right? I mean, don't even think of that. I said, well, let me start. I don't know. I mean, I never did podcast in my life, so I want to try. And after 3 or 4 podcasts, I understood why I'm doing it. Because I enjoy speaking to people like you. I mean, it is like fun, real fun. And I really get a lot of excitement. And we know each other from 2016, right? So we spent many hours together, right? Probably months, weeks and months together, right? But we never spoke like this, right? So even we spoke informally, it was still less focused, right? So, and it's a good reflection. I really enjoyed the way we spoke today. So my last question, at a scale from 0 to 10, what's your appetite to start a new business? I know you can't do it now, right? You just need to work and deliver to get your earnout and to basically get it through, right? I mean, to fulfill your obligations in a way in front of company and shareholders and yourself. But at a scale 1 to 10, what's your appetite to start again, Joël?
11.
1 0 is none. Never ever come to me with this. And 10, yes, I'm gonna push the button tomorrow. When I get out, I just start new business the same day.
Me, it would be 11, because I don't know what else to do. And what I realize, there are plenty of ideas you can grow. And for me, either I would just retire and lie on the beach, or I would start again, because it's just what is exciting is building stuff. And I'm not a guy who like being in the box. And then I would just, for me, it's definitely, that's what I enjoy doing in life. So it would mean then I stop a professional life, or I start something else again. That's really, I have no doubt.
So I would have not put 11, but I would clearly have, as he said, we've done that for so long. And every morning I never think of myself, okay, it's going to be a boring day. It's always so many new stuff. And that's what's creating a new company, always new element, a new phase, learning new stuff. And it's just fantastic. I would not be able to sit and do the same thing for the rest of my life. So.
And you're fine to start it together, right? I mean, you don't mind to like join forces again. Good. And I will be your first check this time. I promise. I promise in front of the public, so we can recall this podcast saying, Victor, you said you will give like the first check. So I'm the first in line because I love you guys and you are amazing. And thanks a lot for everything you did. I know that certain things didn't work out as we wanted. Certain things did. But I have a huge trust in you. And I'm sure you are matured and really great founders. And you sustained for so long together. And you, I'm sure, will face a crucial success, like unbelievable success in your business. And I would encourage you to add 11 and 11 to make it 22 total at a scale of 0 to 10 to start the new business whenever situation allows it to come. So thanks a lot again. And this was Victor Orlovsky with the podcast Ventures from the Valley and Raffael Maio and Joël Winteregg, who are co-founders at NetGuardians, a great company, which we were very proud investors at. And thank you so much for listening to our episodes coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. It was a pleasure.
Ventures from the Valley is brought to you by R136 Ventures. To find out more about R136 Ventures and how we scale mid to late stage startups by unlocking their true potential through investment, visit r136.vc. We will be back soon. In the meantime, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. On behalf of our team here at R136 Ventures, thanks for listening.